Gwen, and welcome to my first official video of 2021. As you guys know, usually to kick off the new year, I make this video talking about my favorite albums from the past year. I'm so excited. This was such a good year for music. Like, 2020 sucked in many ways, but the music that came out in 2020 was fantastic. No complaints there, so I'm very excited for this video. I usually do my top 5 albums. To be honest, I could have done my top 10. I mean, I have 4 honorable mentions to talk about briefly, so if that doesn't tell you how great this year was, I don't know what will. So I'm gonna kick it off with the honorable mentions, and then I will go from 5 to 1 being my favorite album of 2020. So without further ado, let's get into it. So these honorable mentions, I obviously don't know what place they'd go in. I am thinking about making a TikTok, which might already be up by the time you're seeing this, of my top 10 albums, very briefly. So I'm gonna have to figure out where these go in the meantime. But right now, these are my 4 honorable mentions that did not make it in the top 5, but probably would be somewhere in the top 10. The first being You'll Be Fine by Hot Mulligan. I mean, really fantastic album. They've really evolved their sound in a great way. I think this album showed a lot of maturity. They were kind of tackling new themes, many new riffs, a lot of new experimentation in their instrumentation, which I think is so awesome, and I'm just so proud of them for this album. It had been a couple years, so I was very excited to see what the new era of Hot Mulligan would bring, and they definitely did not disappoint. The singles are fabulous. I'm sure if you know anything from the album, you probably know Feel Like Crab, or Backyard, or Equip Sunglasses, those kind of songs. I think those were fantastic singles, and the album all the way through is really a very powerful kind of pop-punk rock release. My next honorable mention is Good Intentions by Downswing. Now, alone, this album is pretty solid. I don't think it's amazing, but I will say that for it being Downswing's first debut full-length album, I think it's really great. I really gotta give them props. I'm very proud of them for it. I really love their EP, I love Swing Style, I love kind of their earlier stuff, but for their first real album with a concept and everything, I have to give them props. I think it's fantastic. If you don't know Downswing, they're a hardcore band from my hometown, actually, in Albany. They're definitely smaller, but I think that people are starting to notice them more in different parts of the East Coast, as well as even in the Midwest. I've gotten some of my friends into them. They're really talented, and I think that Good Intentions is a really good song. Some of my favorites would be songs like Fate and Carbon Copy. There's just a ton of good songs to spare. There's some bops. Very catchy, honestly, so if you're trying to maybe get into hardcore, but you don't know where to start, honestly, check out Downswing. There's a lot of catchy tunes on this album that I think really can kind of reel newcomers of the genre in, so I definitely would recommend it. My next honorable mention is Honeymoon by Beach Bunny. I mean, this honestly, I was so close to kind of squeezing this into top 5. This would probably be my number 6, honestly. It's right after everything. It is just fantastic. Once again, their debut full-length album, and it's so good. And I really enjoy their EPs and stuff, but I think that, once again, sort of as a concept album, listening to this album all the way through, it really is a masterpiece. It talks a lot about, relationships, obviously, but it kind of ends on a really nice note of hope, which I think is lovely. I got this album for Christmas. If you guys saw, I got the vinyl for Christmas if you watched my Christmas haul, and after listening to it full through, in order, the transitions are beautiful, and like I said, it just ends on this kind of note of hope, which I think is beautiful. I love some of the catchy choruses, and my favorite songs are Dream Boy, Promises, April, Miss California. I mean, this whole album I think is fantastic. There really isn't a bad song. The album's full of it all. It has rock, it has some indie rock, it has some soft, almost lullaby-like songs in it. So I think Beach Bunny are on their way to become something very big, so I would definitely recommend you checking them out. And my last honorable mention is Folklore by Taylor Swift. Honestly, I could also add Evermore in here. I think I'm honestly just gonna kind of add them both. They're sister albums, and I mean, I'm not a Swiftie, as we know, but I just love these albums. I've been listening to them nonstop, especially since I've been back here in Chicago. I don't know why, I feel they're kind of comfort albums to me at this point, and I love them because they don't sound like really any other Taylor Swift album that she's made, and I think that's why I really was drawn to it, because I haven't been crazy about her stuff in the past. I liked it when I was younger, but then I kind of obviously went through a phase where I didn't listen to it, but these new songs and these new albums are fantastic. They don't sound like her regular pop stuff. I mean, you've probably heard them, but they're more indie, a little bit folksy with Folklore, and Evermore, I mean, she just keeps dropping the albums, and Evermore is fantastic as well, so I really think she's a very talented songwriter, and I think you can really see that in these albums. There are some amazing hooks, beautiful lyrics, things that will just draw you in, and the songs are, honestly, they tell stories, which is why I was very drawn into it. I love it. I'm listening to it nonstop, so they definitely have to make the honorable mentions here. Okay, now we're gonna get into the part you guys actually probably care more about, and that is my top 5 albums of 2020 in order from 5 to 1. Coming in at number 5, we have 2020 by Knuckle Puck. Yeah, my favorite band. Obviously, they had to make the cut. This album is beautiful. It's obviously a pop punk album. I am so proud of them. I think that they just really cannot put out a bad album at this point, and the singles were fantastic, so I wasn't too nervous when they were releasing the singles. I was really enjoying them, so I figured the album would be great. I mean, there's songs on here that almost sound like the story so far a bit. They just have a lot of really good riffs. My favorite songs would be Tune You Out, Breathe, and Green Eyes, Polarized. Those are fantastic, and I don't know, my favorite band has just done it again. Like I said, they really just cannot write a bad song. The album fits so well together, and every song really does seem like it's telling a story, which I love. And I love all the new riffs in the album, how they really experimented with some new sounds, and the message behind a lot of these songs are so positive. And they're talking about how change is okay, and nothing is temporary, which I love that line so much when they say that in the 2020 title track. And it just makes me so happy. I think they've just grown so much since Copacetic, and I'm so incredibly proud of them. Coming in at number 4, we have Manic by Halsey, my favorite singer. I mean, every song fits so well together, and the entire album flows so beautifully. This new era of Halsey, honestly, took me a little bit to get into. I remember back in January, February, when the album dropped in the beginning of the year, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. It was a little bit let down from Hopeless Found Kingdom, but I just think that I had to get used to the new era. I think it's beautiful. It's not as in your face as Hopeless Found Kingdom was, and I think that's okay. If anything, she kind of pulled it back a bit, and she still was releasing songs that are super emotional, very personal, which I always applaud her for. The love songs she wrote are beautiful, and the angry songs have such amazing beats. I love all the different features, and I love all the different interludes. It's a long album, but I think that it flows so well, and I don't think there's anything in there that should have been cut. My favorite songs from the album are 929, Still Learning, and I Hate Everybody. Okay, coming in at number 3, we have Coping Machine by City Mouth, which I got into in I would actually say I got into it probably in the last quarter of the year, because a friend showed it to me, and I am so thankful I got into this album. City Mouth are from Chicago. They're, I guess, kind of small. If you're not from Chicago or from the Midwest, you probably don't know them, but I recommend you check them out. I don't really know what I would compare them to. They're very much their own genre. There's a few songs that kind of give me 21 Pilots vibes, because they're kind of electronic. I don't know, you guys just kind of have to give them a listen. They're definitely just I don't know, electronic rock, but I think they're super talented. Definitely recommend them, and this album is fantastic. They're unlike many other artists I listen to, which is why I love it. It's very unique sounding. It's hard for me to exactly place it. They actually used to be more pop punk, but they've kind of gone in this poppier direction, and I'm not mad about it. I love it. There are so many catchy choruses and fast parts that are really fun to sing, so I guarantee you if you play just some of the songs, they will get stuck in your head pretty fast. This is an album that you can totally blast in the car with the windows down with your friends. This is, I feel very much a summer album, and I'm actually excited for this coming summer so I can listen to this album in the summer, because I think it would just work so well with driving in the summer. There's so many funny lyrics too. It's an album that you really don't have to take very seriously. You can kind of just throw it on in the background. I don't really think it matters what your preference is for music. I think if you put this on in the background at a party or something, people would start bopping. I really do. My favorite songs are Sinking, For a Second, and Sanity for Summer. Number 2, we have No Good Left to Give by Movements. Obviously this had to make the cut. I literally was just listening to this morning. I loved Feel Something, and I really was not expecting to love this new album as much as I did, because now I honestly see these two albums, Feel Something and No Good Left to Give, on the same peg, if that makes sense. I don't think I like one more than the other. I think they're just different. Feel Something is very emo. Feel Something, honestly, I need to be in a certain mood to want to listen to the whole thing. It will make me cry. This one, I feel I can put it on more in the background. I don't have to be in a super sad, dark place to want to listen to it, which I do kind of like. I feel it's a bit more hopeful. This album is definitely, like I said, more uplifting to feel something, but it still deals with very sensitive topics and situations, and the instrumentation is beautiful. The first time I listened to this album, I was just walking through the city, and I was just taken away by some of the instrumentation that they use in this album. I think it's beautiful. It's so pleasing to the ear. Like, please at least just like sit on your bed and like put your AirPods in and just like listen to this album, because it's beautiful. And the production is just so impressive, and it was absolutely worth the wait. My favorite songs from the album are Seneca, Tunnel Vision, and Skin to Skin. And here we go, coming in at number 1, what you guys have all been waiting for. Can you guys guess it? If you watched my Spotify rap video, you probably have an idea of what this is. My number 1 favorite album of 2020 is Afterburner by Dance Gavin Dance. Oh, this album is so good. Like, if I'm in a bad mood now, I just put on this album, and it is fantastic. I've been listening to it, I think it came out in like, what, April or May, I think, somewhere around there. So I have been listening to it for the majority of 2020, and it just continued to grow on me. Like, it just got better and better. And the singles, like, they were catchy, they were fun. They didn't, like, wow me at the time, but as I kept listening to them, I mean, you just, like, hear things, you kind of understand the lyrics more, and they're witty dudes, they're so talented. There's so many catchy riffs and parts of this album, like, I could go on and on talking about it. The album is so impressive because I really was not expecting their new album to, like, be this good. I loved their last 2 albums so much. Artificial Selection is what got me into them in 2019-ish, and then I just got into Mothership this past year and fell in love with that album. So I was like, damn, can they do like almost a third in a row that I love? And they can. And now I'm kind of just like working my way back in their discography, because I swear these guys just like don't have any like bad tunes or bad albums. They're really good. There's a great variety of sounds on the album, and like I said, there's so many catchy hooks and riffs. You're bound to like at least like 1 or 2 songs on this album. My favorite songs from the album are Strawberries Wake, Parallels, and Lyrics Lie. But there you guys go. Those are my top 5 albums, plus my honorable mentions for 2020. This was so fun to make. I love doing this. This was such a great year for music. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, I do have a playlist on Spotify called 2020 Newbies with a bunch more albums that I enjoyed this year and just some fun ones. If you guys are looking for new music or want to check it out, it's on my Spotify, which is always linked down below. Leave a comment, let me know what your guys' favorite albums of 2020 are. Give me your top 5, give me your top 10. I don't care, I would love to hear it. Honestly, I feel like I always, like the next year, still end up kind of getting into albums that came out the previous year because I'm always late to the trends. So if there's an album I did not mention that you guys love from 2020, comment down below. Maybe I haven't heard it yet and I would love to listen to it. I'm hopeful that the new year is going to bring even more amazing music. I know a bunch of artists that I love are hopefully going to come out with new stuff this year, so I'm very excited about it. But other than that, that's going to be the end of this video. Give this video a big thumbs up if you guys liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already. And other than that, I will see you all in my next video. Bye!